Um, I wanted to, before we go much further, I wanted to try to give another explanation of the string object and objects in general. Um, you won't create your own objects for a couple of weeks. I believe in chapter 8 is when we will work with actually creating our own object types. But I wanted to try to explain what an object is to give you a better understanding of it. Um, in C++, we don't have a variable type for strings. We have integers, we have the char variable type, which is a single character, we have the float, we have the double, but we don't have an actual type called string. Now, a variable type, all it can do is define a variable that stores a particular bit of information. It doesn't have any functions that go along with it. On the other hand, an object can have both data storage and functions. Okay, our string object, which is provided to us in C++, that string object has a lot of capabilities. We can store data in it, and the string that we store is stored as an array of characters. In addition to the data member storage, we also have functions, which we played with in the last video. Functions like string.find, which allows you to locate a pattern within a particular string. String.erase, which allows you to erase one or more characters from a string or the entire string. String.empty, which tests whether or not the string is empty. There are additional ones that we haven't looked at yet, but if you just search for C++ string object, you'll eventually find the overview of all of the different member functions of the string object. But to get an understanding of how objects are built in C++ and what they represent, I want to take a look at a book. Okay, a book, if we were creating an object type for a book, what are some of the characteristics that we would have of this book? Some of the things that we might want to store data about. We might want the title of the book. That may be something that we want to store. The author of the book. The number of pages in that book. Whatever page we're currently on. Those are pieces of information that we might want to store about that book. Now, what functions could we use for that book? What are actions that we would do with that book? Read book, to actually sit down and start reading the book. Shelf book, to put the book back on the shelf. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple examples. Our textbook, Beginning C++ through Game Programming. This is an instance of the object type book. In this case, we're calling it Book A. The title is Beginning C++ through Game Programming. The author is Michael Dawson, as you see here. Page count, I got this from Amazon.com because I didn't feel like adding in the table of contents pages and the acknowledgments and doing the math myself, but Amazon.com says it's 432 pages. What page am I currently on? I'm on page 96. That's the last page that I was working from as we were going through the objects and the string object. Okay, functions. Let's say I call the function read book, so I go ahead and open the book and I start reading it. Okay, let's look at another one. Another instance of my book object type, my book class. Book B, title is Learn Cocoa on the Mac. The author is a bit more complicated here. We've got three authors, Jack Nuttig, David Mark, and Jeff LaMarche. Page count, this one's 374 pages long. And current page, the last page I was on here was page 93. I call my read book function and I start reading. I read for a while, then I decide I'm done reading. So I call my shelf book function. And what does that do? That takes the book and puts it back on the shelf. Okay, that is a predefined function that I created for my book object type, shelf book. I can do that with anything that is object type book, whether it's this book or any other book that I might create in my program that has that object type. So that's basically what an object is. We will learn more about objects. It's not so much important that you understand how objects are implemented, how they work behind the scenes. What's really important at this stage is to understand that an object has data member structures which store data, and it has member functions which allow that object to do different actions. What's also important to realize is that the object type is just that. It's a template. You will then build instances of that object type. This is one instance of the object type book. Learn Cocoa on the Mac is another instance of the object type book. If I wanted to create yet another one, I could create another instance of book for the non-designer's Illustrator book. Any book that I have on my shelf, I could create in my program an instance of the object type book, which would give me a framework in which I could store information about that book and then have the exact same functions, the exact same actions that I could perform with that book and not have to program those functions independently. Hopefully that gives you an idea and helps you just move on to actually working with the objects that we're going to see in the next couple of chapters. And then if you really want to look ahead, chapter 8 introduces classes, defining new types. And a class is, when I say object type book, I could also say that book is a class. So we will, in a couple of weeks, we will start creating our own classes, which are object types. And then you can create instances of those object types that are based on how you define that object. Okay, hopefully that clears it up. And if you have any questions, feel free to email, come in during office hours, or post a message on the help desk forum in Angel. So be back soon with arrays, and then we will continue from there.